Hello and welcome to Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics. This is Cyrus. We have a special guest today, my friend Elle. And before we jump into this little interview, I just want to give a quick recap about the whole UFO phenomenon and what's going on lately in the news and why that's significant with my guest here right now. So, if you've been paying attention to the news, things are just blowing up lately. We have Bob Lazar appearing on the Joe Rogan Experience. If you guys caught that, I posted about it in the main group. We have the Assistant Secretary of Defense who was on, I believe it was Fox News. No, it was Good Morning America, who was stating that UAPs or UFOs, as we typically know them, are either advanced government craft or extraterrestrial. So that's a government official basically disclosing that, yeah, they're probably ETs. We had the Luis Elizondo guy who was working in the Pentagon for a long time. Recently on Fox News, he gave an affirmative that the U.S. government is in possession of crashed extraterrestrial spacecraft. So that's kind of big news. We have members of the Senate and the White House, including the president, being briefed on UFOs through the Pentagon. This happened a few days ago. And so that's kind of huge news. Now we have more big news, which is we have a really amazing UFO conference being put on in Barcelona, Spain. And why is this relevant? Well, let's just take a quick look at the conference. So this is the Ufology World Congress in Barcelona, Spain. I'm going to try to be there. Well, I'm already booked to go to Barcelona, so, I'm going to be there.
You're going to be there.
One way or the other. And so look who is the keynote speaker, Dr. Michio Kaku, who has always been, well, maybe the world's most famous scientist. But you wouldn't think of this guy necessarily speaking at a UFO Congress. He's always kind of hinted at having an interest in the subject, but he's gone full out and is now a headliner in a major UFO summit. And again, this guy is really very much plugged into mainstream academia. So this is like bursting the door wide open into the mainstream, even more than it already is, with Dr. Michio Kaku headlining this event. And of course, if you look down at the other main speakers, we have down there on the far left, here, Elle Light, who is with me right now, and she is the co-founder of this conference, making history in the ufology community. And I met her just completely coincidentally walking around late at night here in Ganj, India, a couple of weeks ago. And so it's funny how those things work out, That's one of the reasons that I travel the world, is because I encounter people along the way, and the story just keeps unfolding that way. And that means a lot to me. So it always looks like on the surface I'm just traveling to a random place, but the way serendipity happens is actually it's the unfolding of a story. You never know which way it's going to unfold. And so now I met Elle, and as a result, I'm now going to Barcelona to attend the UFO Congress, where maybe I'll meet even more crazy connections that will lead to different paths, and maybe it's all going to result in one big picture. So I'm actually going to hand the mic over to Elle real quick. Maybe she can talk about herself, and you can tell me a little bit about the Congress and what this work means to you and how this got started. But before we do that, if you like this kind of stuff, please hit that subscribe button, as it helps this little channel keep going. Or if you want to support this work, support my journey doing this kind of stuff, please head to patreon.com/Afterlife Topics. It helps keep this going. You can sign up as a student on that site. You'll see me twice a week. We do big classes and have crazy discussions like that. So anyway, with that out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Elle. Hey, Elle, how's it going?
Hello. Thank you for having me on here.
Yeah, of course. I'm honored that you're able to come. And so Can you tell me about the UFO Congress? Do we call it the UFO Congress? Isn't it
At
now?
Ufology World Congress.
Isn't it now UAP? Like, isn't that what they're calling it in the government now? Or can we call it UFO still?
Well, I don't know, really. Like, it's quite interesting because although I'm connected to this Congress and it's obviously like part of my mission here on the planet, I've taken a big step back from ufology for the most part, and I just show up where I'm required to show up, such as this event. So when it comes to technical terminology, such as that, I'm not actually that familiar, if I'm honest with you.
No problem. So, how did this Congress come into existence? So you co-founded it with your partner, correct?
Yeah.
Right on.
So it was, once again, just like meeting you, a string of synchronicities that actually led to this Congress happening. I did, after I finished university in like 2016, I went on a journey of synchronicities, which led to me doing an ayahuasca ceremony.
Ah, right
Familiar
on.
with the plant medicine?
Yeah, I'm never gonna touch it because I don't want to. I know there's a purging element to ayahuasca, right? And I'm not a big fan of purging.
It's very powerful.
Yeah.
It changed my life, and part of the guidance I received in this ceremony was I go to Barcelona and go like this week. So I booked a flight to Barcelona, and a few days later after the ceremony, I was on the flight to Barcelona. 2 weeks in, I met my partner, we fell in love, and wrote a very crazy love story, basically. And the Congress was a manifestation from us coming together. And I mean, this was like 3 years ago now, almost. So it's been quite a journey.
Wow. And so just kind of like wandering around, taking some ayahuasca, and then suddenly you're on a different path, and then you fall in love with somebody, and then through that we create like this historical UFO conference in Spain. So that's just really, it's really interesting how that goes. Like, who would think that the actions of like taking some ayahuasca is going to lead to something like this happening? And so that's a really interesting kind of concept, how things like that come about. And it's kind of like how travel sometimes is when you're on like a spiritual journey,
Yeah,
things
very much
things
so.
just like line up. And it's almost something like I recommend for people watching too, is sometimes if this is why I recommend traveling, but traveling is kind of pointless unless you meet people, right? Because then when you're meeting people, that's when things are being connected and stuff starts happening, right?
Yeah, and I think what ayahuasca did for me, because I wanted to travel and I felt this calling to travel ever since I finished university, but my mind was getting in the way, and ayahuasca basically opened the door. It was like, you can do anything you want to do, and you're supported as you journey forward, and this whole path just kind of opened. And yeah, basically put things in perspective and freed the fear of what was holding me back before.
And I do recommend ayahuasca to be used with professionals or people who are
Yeah,
guides.
you gotta do it in a ceremony
Yeah,
if
who
you are
understand.
called to do it.
Yeah, if you are called to do it, like personally, like I'm not probably going to be doing it.
Yeah,
anytime in the
I mean, like,
future,
what
but
actually
for some people,
happens
it's
is the plant medicine, it does call you. Like before I actually went into the ceremony, I was hearing ayahuasca a lot of times from different people. I was walking down the street, I just hear ayahuasca.
because that happens to me, but it says chocolate. It's very different.
Well, cacao is plant medicine too.
But it says chocolate cake. No, but so can you talk a little bit about your kind of like what have you been doing leading up to the conference? So you are a meditation expert. I know that much, and maybe you could tell the viewers a little bit about some of what you do.
So I'm a light language channel, which has been quite an interesting journey. It kind of coincided with the Ufology World Congress also, and this ayahuasca ceremony, where I began awakening to light language, which we then brought into the Congress. And interestingly, when I was in the ceremony and I was hearing these galactic codes, I thought UFOs. Don't know why, but it just spoke to me on a deeper level that said UFOs are connected to the language of light. And then the Congress came about, and the light language was part of it. So
So light language. This is like kind of telepathic means of communication with people. Is that right? Or how do
Well,
you?
yeah. So many of our star families, they use it to communicate, but also they apply it to advanced technology. So the UFOs, much of them are formed through consciousness. They've gone past the physicality. So the language of light is how they're formed. And what's quite interesting is I've come across ufologists who have done research into this. And there's this pattern of these galactic codes being found throughout like the ufology community being applied to the spacecrafts. So my understanding is, as we begin to integrate as a collective consciousness, like language, we'll be able to apply it to this advanced technology, such as porthole technology, spacecrafts, and so much more. So, yeah, I believe that's before us.
I'm going to nerd out a little bit. And I know the average viewer actually of this channel is, according to the analytics, it's 60. So that's the average age.
Okay.
And some of the people on the Afterlife, actually the oldest gentleman on the Afterlife Topics group is 97. That's Alan Valiant. He doesn't post there much. But there's another gentleman who's like 95. So I wouldn't say that my audience is very young, but I will say that for the audience, there was a very popular computer game called The Elder Scrolls. You ever hear about that?
The Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, it's a very popular like RPG game. There's one called Skyrim, right? And so it's first person, and it's a fantasy RPG game.
Okay.
So there's this really interesting scene in this game because when I met you yesterday, you were writing in your light language on this really cool notebook. This really cool looked like kind of this archaic looking notebook. It was really cool. Anyway,
hieroglyphics.
so there was so basically in the game, it's like fantasy role playing kind of game. And there is this one artifact that's called the Elder Scroll, and it's not a very. It's like one sheet of paper, and that in the game, the storyline, it's like all this information of the cosmos is condensed into like this one language, and that in the game, of course, it's like factions fighting to obtain the Elder Scroll, right? And so when in the game, when you finally you'll find the Elder Scroll, and then you'll put it over your back, and you'll be walking around. And when you take the Elder Scroll out and attempt to read it, like the screen, like the animation is you try to unfold it, and there's all these like runic alphabets, but it's too much for your mind to comprehend.
Okay.
Everything flashes white, and you drop the scroll because it's too much for like a mortal to be able to comprehend. And it was really interesting because it actually reminds me of the whole concept of what you've been talking about. So so what you were describing is you had this runic alphabet, just like in that game. And I think some people who are like fiction writers and design games or write films or write books, like sometimes they also think they draw inspiration from like real stuff, or they draw inspiration from like metaphysical subjects. So it's really interesting how much that reminded me. But you have like this you had a sheet of paper, and so you're talking about there's all this information that is actually contained just in like these symbols, even if it's not like a linear language. Is that correct?
Yeah, and it's not new. Like, this is ancient. You have like the hieroglyphics in Egypt, which is a form of light language. So it's like returning into humanity's consciousness now. And it's really exciting to see like the potentiality of it and how it's going to evolve, because it's such an important key, I do believe, where it does bring so much of this non-tangible into the tangible, such as like channeling. It makes it visual in a way where, I mean, even like atheists and people who they want to see it to believe it. They can look at it and begin to question beyond the physical.
So the idea behind like the light language when it's written out is that basically there's like these hieroglyphics almost, and each one contains all this data and information. And even though it's just like, it looks like a little symbol, but if you're on a certain higher frequency, you can look at a little symbol, and then you've just downloaded like the Encyclopedia Britannica, kind of along those lines. It's all this information contained into like this very, I don't know how you put it, like what looks like a 2D language. Actually, it's all this.
It's a multi-dimensional language.
It's all this data is like contained, within it. And so this is how you believe that like extraterrestrials may, know. And this is something I've also heard from like certain insider accounts and ET like abductee accounts. They talk about like they'll see a piece of writing on the wall, but inside it's like all the specs of the spaceship, and it's in like 6 letters. So it's all the information contained within it. So I've heard that before.
Uh-huh.
So that's a really really interesting thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe like it's such a key bridge for science, the light language, and I'm really excited for when scientists begin to really look at it, what doors it can open. So yeah, it's quite interesting that it came at the same time as this Ufology Congress, light language and ufology. It's like it's meant to unify them.
I see.
So yeah.
So that's really this is like really cool metaphysical stuff. It's really really interesting. What else? So currently though, you also integrate that with meditation, and then you kind of do the circuit around the world, and you pop up in different places. And is there like so when you decide to go to a new country, is it always based on some kind of an experience that calls you to the new place? You have an experience there, and that calls you to the next place.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how you hop around.
I feel sometimes I will hear, but it will always be direct, and then I will know. Like I have to feel it like really deeply, because obviously like when you change location, it changes everything in your life. So yeah, there's always a very clear sign that it's time to go.
Okay. So that's probably for me. I just plan it all out, and it's very, I don't know. I mean, I do get that calling to go from place to place, which is really cool. But I think maybe I'm being too like, I don't know, systematic. I'm just like, I will go here, then I will go here, then I will go here.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm like, well, maybe I'm missing the proper way to be traveling. Maybe I should just be allowing the spirit to take me to places. But I do get the experiences along the way though that like help fit into the picture. I didn't think I was going to go to Spain, until a couple days ago. So that's really neat. What are some things you might be talking about at the Congress? Because you're one of the key speakers, and you're also, of course, one of the founders of the conference. Like, what are some subjects you're going to bring up, and what do you think about like basically this whole UFO disclosure business?
Wow. So I'm going to be speaking about light language, where I channel. So I'm going to be channeling information. And although I've received part of which we're going to be sharing, I don't really know. We're going to see what happens in the moment also. So I'll be sharing like light language and the nature of it. Maybe draw a bit of light language, because I think it's important for people to begin to see and understand like the technological side of it. It's the connecting of nodes, essentially, opening gateways in this time-space reality. And we're going to be bridging future Earth. So it's all very multidimensional. But what I think about disclosure is that it's fantastic. I think it's so exciting. And it's such an exciting time to be alive right now. But at the same time, it's important we don't get lost in all of these topics, because there is so much information out there now. The key really is to become empowered. And this is where like all the spiritual expansion comes into play. It's what will keep you stable through the shifts in consciousness that are coming. Like they are happening. The whole planet is awakening now. All this information is coming to the surface, where it can be quite scary for some people. But the key to be able to integrate and move through these times with greatest ease and trust and excitement is to really move into your center and establish this strong spiritual connection.
Is it basically the revelation of this ET phenomenon that's changing people's consciousness, or is something else doing it? Like what's coming first? Because a lot of stuff has happened in the last 2 years. So is it just people? Is it just higher ups and elite people making decisions, and then that's changing the world, or is something else happening as well?
So all of this is connected. This great awakening is reflective of Earth's astrological positioning along the Great Year Cycle. It's a 25,800 year cycle, also known as the Platonic Year. And where Earth has just entered along this Great Year Cycle, the frequencies of consciousness are much higher than before. So there's a lot of light in this area of the universe that we are ascending into. The frequencies are ascending, for that matter, where as a result, light is flooding into the planet, and it's bringing all of this information to surface. And as a result, our humanitarian consciousness is expanding. It's like we're becoming immersed in a deep sea of awareness. So naturally, we become more aware in the process. We become more aware of what's happening on the planet and as to our very nature too. Like, you don't just see this in like ufology. You see it in the vegan movement, people getting interested in yoga and meditation. Like, it's all connected. They're just different branches of the same tree.
And so with the conference, I noticed with the conference, a lot of the speakers, it seems to be this kind of a mix. I think you're bringing more of like the spiritual, bigger picture ideas to it. But we also see a lot of sort of like nuts and bolts scientists talking about their perspective, and they might be a little bit disconnected from the like disclosure, ascension, spirituality, like that whole element of it. But do you feel like you're kind of trying to like rebalance it a little bit with like the bigger picture spiritual subject? Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, this year I didn't have so much of a say in the lineup because I took a big step back from it all and I just observed it rather than having a say in it. And I feel much better within myself because of that, and it's been quite interesting. It is all masculine. In the previous years, I was pushing for the feminine energy. I was pushing for the starseed energy, but it took a lot of my energy, so I just decided not to do that anymore. But I do hope to see more starseed energy in the future in this kind of event, but we'll just see what happens. I mean, that's my role, really, is to bring in the light, bring in the spiritual energy. I mean, behind also the speakers, there are a load of workshops happening where they've got a lot of the more metaphysical, spiritual concepts, like astral projection. I think they've got a workshop on angels, astral travel, I said that one. Sound healing.
Do you feel do you have any thoughts on like the correlation between extraterrestrial contact and astral travel? Like I do astral travel. I've told you a lot of like my stories. What is the relationship between these subjects of you? If any?
Well, the fifth dimension is where we're going. It's our humanitarian future. That's what's before us, and this is what we're evolving into. And as our consciousness expands, we're actually elevating into a high frequency, beginning to merge with this astral plane.
Oh, okay.
And there will become a time where we no longer need to leave our bodies and we'll quite literally just merge into 5D. This is the information that I've been told, and we'll just see. So,
that's the thing that we've heard about in a lot of these insider testimonials. So they've said variations of this. They talk about a higher energy portion of the cosmos that the solar system is moving into. And according to these guys, I can't speak on their behalf, this is just what the information is. It really is based upon sort of, there's different parts of the universe that have different energetic wavelengths. And if our solar system is physically moving into one, then the wavelength that separates this world and the astral world starts to converge together. And so theoretically, like this plane would start becoming reminiscent of the astral plane. So this is why I always stress like the astral plane is an actual real and geographical location in the sense that it's all around us and it's a wavelength over. So if you just turn the dial on the radio knob like a couple notches, suddenly that the picture changes and we are in the other side. And so astral projection is just your consciousness doing that, leaving your body behind and tuning into that wavelength. But it's an actual other wavelength that you could theoretically build machinery to be able to access. Like you could, for example, have a extraterrestrial spaceship that has a button on it, and then you can move into a different wavelength, right? So it is a geographical territory. At least that's my theory. It's kind of what I believe. And so this point of view that we hear a lot is that we're moving slowly into a region of the cosmos that is naturally on that wavelength, which is going to end up putting all of us on that wavelength also. It may not happen straight away, but the idea is that eventually kind of this world and the astral world might just end up being one and the same. So I'm curious about that. Maybe I can ask you, because I hear you talking about like New Earth. So is that what New Earth actually is?
Yeah.
So is that the same thing, or?
Yeah, I mean that is what New Earth is, and I mean we say 5D, but it is multidimensional. Like something that's really important to understand about 5D is you have access to multiple dimensions from that point of now. I'm sure you can understand this, like traveling on the astral plane. But to the linear mind who hasn't, you like to kind of put things in a box like 1D, 2D, 3D, 4D, 5D. But if 5D isn't like that, you have access to multiple dimensions. So it's more multidimensionality, that is New Earth, where, I mean, the light that I channel from, it's a crystalline frequency, where it is crystal, like a clear quartz crystal. This is what New Earth is like. It's a crystalline kingdom of light.
Well, a crystal is, I mean, it's the, if you look at the molecules, it's arranged like it's arranged in a pattern, right? So a crystal is like molecules are, is it hexagonal, or maybe you would know?
Well, the story behind the crystals is actually very interesting. So this is, you could say, mythology.
Mythology,
whatever.
okay.
But the story behind it is like millions of years ago, there were these great masters who brought the planet. And they ascended into this fifth dimensional consciousness, leaving their crystal bodies here, essentially marking the bridge between these two frequencies, these two densities. It's a better way to describe it. So that's quite an interesting connection. You know, and then you have the crystalline grid, which is the fifth dimensional, multidimensional energy field around the planet. And, I mean, this isn't new information. The pyramids are supposedly built to connect and use this crystalline energy to fuel whole civilizations. Maybe some of your viewers are interested in that, like the actual use of what the pyramids were built for. There's a lot of speculation. I'm sure you've come across that.
I've heard some of that with I mean, I do stress like the mythology point of view, because we know crystals are also geological, and crystals are salt crystals,
philosophy,
salt crystals, sugar crystals are crystals. But it's very possible. As an example, like I know that you guys are familiar with Konstantin Rodiv. Probably you're not familiar with Konstantin Rodiv, but he was Konstantin Rodiv. He's a German scientist, but he invented like electronic voice phenomenon. And I recall like crystals being used as a way to amplify connections with the other side in some of the experiments I've been hearing about over with Sonia Rinaldi's lab. And Sonia Rinaldi, she basically gets images from the other side in her equipment, including like deceased people waving at the camera, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, this is the thing. They open up this like 5D gateway through their bodies. So I mean, I do believe like in humanity's future, crystal technology and light language technology unified will be the technology that we use. Like it's the technology of consciousness. Crystals are still alive. Like they grow. I've had crystals where they over time change shape. Really. And I'm not the only one. I've spoken to a lot of people who are also experiencing similar things, so they're still living. So I don't know, it's quite interesting. It's the technology of consciousness.
I do have a friend who said he had a past life as a rock, and then I teased him about it, but I'm like, wait a sec, that's actually true. Anything can have a consciousness, right? Yeah. So a rock could have a consciousness. If there's everything is consciousness. That's what spirit people talk about, right?
Yeah. So, and the story is these are ascended masters, so they technically can reincarnate.
So when you buy a quartz crystal, there might be a dude living in the quartz crystal. It's like, hey, I'm an ascended master.
Yeah, and like when you do begin to see it as a consciousness, it really does assist you as a tool. You could get a lot of answers through the crystals, holding them. Particularly clear quartz is very, very powerful. You can tune it to any frequency. Other crystals are great to work with, but clear quartz is the most powerful.
So you can give it a shot, like meditate with clear crystal quartz and see if anything happens. I'll see if it helps me astral project, but I don't know. Maybe it could.
It could actually make things clearer.
But I don't carry around many crystals because I live out of a backpack, so I can't really carry rocks with me very easily. But maybe real quick, you could tell us a little bit about like some of your channeling and who and what you channel. If there's any like message or your main point of view, anything like that, I'll just hand it over to you.
Would you want me to do some channeling? Well, do a bit of light language?
Well, I think right now we can save that for. I feel like I'd be putting you on the spot.
But maybe I can tell us some words.
But you can just tell me a little bit about who you channel or what you channel and what the message is.
So I channel a consciousness of light from future Earth, and essentially what we're assisting doing is activating the crystalline DNA that lays dormant within us, this multidimensional awareness, and bridging it into our physical vessel. So I mean, that's the very basic of the information we're sharing. Speak a lot about the law of attraction, spirituality, this shift in consciousness, the great year cycle, and how to integrate it all.
So the future Earth is reminiscent of what the astral Earth is right now, because we talk a lot about the astral Earth. You know about astral Earth, right? And I'm wondering if this is the same terminology, because a lot of us who astral project, we go to like what's like a parallel version of this planet. So that's why I talked about like astral London. You know, it's like it's synchronous to our world, but it's on that other spectrum. So what I'm curious about is it the same thing? Is it like we're moving into the astral Earth, we're just going to become that world, or are we becoming like a branch of that, like in a similar physics, or are we becoming something else? Like, do you have any thoughts about that?
So it's an interesting one, because we have this great year cycle that we're completing, but there's also this bigger cycle, which is like one of the biggest ones. I think it might even be the biggest. I don't know the name of it, but it's huge, and we're also completing this. So this is accelerating this awakening also. So there's two huge cycles that are coming into completion, where essentially in humanity's future, the way we experience this fifth dimensional consciousness isn't the same as how we experience it now in the astral plane, because we are moving into another area within this greater cycle. And so what I'm channeling is from future time. And the way I see it is everything is light, everything is crystalline, and you don't have the darkness in the same way that you do if you go into 5D now in the astral plane.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't know, I'm still awakening to it all, but I just see this big body of light, crystalline light that is before humanity in the next 1,000 years.
So to try to translate, so what I think what you're saying is that according to this philosophy, theory, belief, that everything is being upgraded. So that means this planet and the astral plane that we know, because it's, you know, this world is still, the astral Earth is stuck to this Earth. You know, they're in tandem, but all of that is moving into the other part of the cosmos. So everything is being upgraded. Even the astral Earth is being upgraded, because I mean the astral Earth can also be sometimes a pretty grungy place. I mean, it can be really, really beautiful, but like places where like negative thought constructs kind of attract, you know, there can be like negative parts of the astral Earth that are pretty grungy. I think William Bowman talks a lot about that. Jurgen talks a lot about that. I mean, I've seen kind of grungy urban areas, but I haven't explored that dark side as much as some of the other authors have. But I think but the way I see it, though, it's like there's always this kind of like attracts like. So long as there are people of a negative spectrum, it's going to unfortunately create like negative realms. You know, so long as there's still people thinking that way, you know, we wouldn't really be escaping those negative environments unless collectively everybody just starts, you know, getting on the right page, and there's, for lack of a better term, fewer jerks on the planet. You know, once people are more connected, then it's going to reduce the amount of issues, I think, happening on the astral side, because right now you have so many people who cross over who don't seem to have a grasp of, you know, their responsibility, their consciousness. You create so many of these kind of negative environments, as so many astral travelers report about. And I think the Silver Birch, one of the great like spirit communication channels, talked about this a lot, basically saying that, you know, there's so many people from your world who come to our side who are ignorant of, you know, what they really are and, you know, what their consciousness is capable of. And it's a huge burden on basically like guides and, you know, the light workers of the astral side trying to deal with so much negative energy pouring into their world from this world. And so I don't know, I might be going off on a little bit of a tangent here.
Well, this is the thing, like, it is multidimensional, where the infinite possibilities are, and no same individual lives the same reality. So it's a multidimensional reality, and depending on where you are as an individual and where you are focused, creates the reality you then experience. You can, through embodying the light, experience a reality of light, but if you focus in a negative direction, or in a direction that doesn't feel good, then you create that sort of reality. And this is why it's so important to begin to become a master of the mind, because we are shifting into this multidimensional awareness where everything you're embodying speeds up in its manifestation process, where you have access to infinite timelines, essentially depending on what frequency you're embodying, where your thoughts are focused.
Yeah, so I mean, I do